Hi everyone. We're back.
And I
I only
forgot
using
yes, I forgot to press the button again. I was just saying it's amazing how time flies. It's been 4 hours now. So shout out to everyone who's been with us from the beginning of this event. Welcome to everyone who's just joining us. We are back, and our next presentation is about lead generation. So we have with us Jake Dunlop, CEO at Scaled Consulting. That's scaled with a K. Scaled Consulting accelerates the growth of emerging and enterprise companies by bringing revenue strategy, operations, and enablement experts. Welcome, Jake.
Hey, welcome. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining. You have a nice setup there with a nice mic.
You got a great setup, man. You got that light. That's that YouTube light in the background right there.
Yeah, that's actually pretty easy to do. I'll tell you just but a couple of bulbs and just
I like it
at the wall. All right, so the floor is yours, and as always, we're going to be checking out the comments and chiming in if we see something interesting.
Definitely do that. So, hey, what's up, everybody? We have a jam-packed 20 minutes for you. I'm going to share my screen. I've put together a quick talk track as well. So, you all have been getting up to speed on AI, and I got to tell you, as someone, I'm 42 years old. Obviously, I don't look 42, hopefully. But I can tell you, when I talk about AI, in my mind, I'm like, I have to go back and start to think like I'm 22 or 23 again at the very beginning of my career. That the impact of AI on lead generation and other parts of the sales process too, I'm going to focus on lead generation. Is that important? Is that game changing? And for a lot of you, if you haven't been, if you're on this, chances are, you've been playing around with, one of the AI services, if not multiple. But I'm going to talk you through how we're talking to our clients about using AI in the sales process in particular. So without further ado, boom, share screen. And here we go. All right, let's get into it. So if you don't know me, I'm the CEO of Scaled Consulting. We're a 40-plus person sales consulting strategy and revenue operations company. What that really means is we help organizations optimize parts of their sales process. It could be demand gen at the top of the funnel, their sales process itself, growing their current account base, all of the above. And we work with a mix of rapid growth tech companies. We also work with manufacturing, sports teams. I was on site with the Miami Marlins the last 2 days. Shout out to that team. That was a lot of fun. And so we get a chance to see every year, I see hundreds and hundreds of different ways that organizations are using technology to generate more meetings, interact with customers, grow customer relationships as well. So you can find me on LinkedIn as well too. I do a lot of posting about sales and this topic in particular. So let's jump into it. So I'm sure most of you have tried, probably Chat GPT. That's kind of the common one, which is what, it's probably the easiest for a lot of you. But our team pulled some stats together that I think are really interesting, right? 75% of B2B orgs are going to use AI and traditional solutions in just the next couple of years. And that's, whenever I open the conversation with, I feel like I need to go back and relearn a lot of the techniques and things that I was taught that made me very successful and teams I built very successful. It's because of this. Lead generation and research alone take up 21% of someone's time, whether you're account executive or sales rep. And when I talk about my 5 ways to use AI, this is going to be a big one. Again, thinking about reducing costs, thinking about different ways to utilize it to do lead generation. And again, not necessarily to just like write these custom messages for you, which can be interesting. And, I love what the guys at Lavender and, Humantic and Reggie and all of them are doing as well. But I can tell you, like right now, to me, there's over 1,200 sales technologies that exist right now, 1,200. Whichever one of these tools you pick to, I'm not sponsored by any of these tools or anything. The key thing for me is just like, as I'm thinking about all these different tools, it's picking one, or multiple, Reply, any of the tools that are doing this really, really well. and then just starting to get, familiar with what these tools can do. And because when I talk to people, I say the future is going to be made by the people that know how to and I manipulate, and I don't mean manipulate in like a negative negative way. I mean it in the terms of how to query these tools. That the future Rockstar Plus sellers are going to be people who know how to utilize advanced queries and say, oh, okay, it's going to hit a dead end if I ask it this, but if I ask it this and then this and then this, it's going to give me the information. And so for a lot of you out there, the skill set that if I'm in your shoes and I'm talking about lead generation that I would be working on is how do I query these tools to get the answers that I want? And so obviously research is a big one, making you more efficient, supplementing what you're not good at to make you more effective. I think another big one, on the research front is new hire ramp. So if I'm a new hire at an organization and I'm trying to figure out like, I've never sold into HR before. What do VPs of talent acquisition care about? And I'll get into some of the persona-based stuff. AI to me is your cheat code. The beautiful part about the advice I used to give, which was like when you had a question, Google, YouTube is your first stop. Chat GPT can help to give you answers, or you can use Google and YouTube to get an idea of a topic and then feed Chat GPT some of those links, and it can give you some like very specific answers. So I could go on and on about this, but they told me I only had 20 minutes. So that's all I got. So number one is industry knowledge. I cannot tell you. It's so funny. So I worked at what at the time was the largest job site. This is pre-LinkedIn. It was called Career Builder. And my team, we weren't verticalized. We had a region. And so my team, they had to learn every industry. We had to learn, we were the Pacific Northwest. So my team had to learn aviation, tech, pest control, you name it, we had to learn it. And we had to learn it, through Google and other resources. But to me, industry knowledge around specific industries is one of the best ways to utilize these services. What they allow you to do, I mean, seriously, I cannot imagine how much better I would have been and how much higher the quality of my conversations would have been if I had a tool like this. And I'll give you an example. A lot of reps, they'll say things like, we work with manufacturing companies like X. And it's like, well, there's a big difference between what an industrial manufacturing company does and what a consumer packaged goods manufacturing company does. And so what AI can help you to do is really quickly get into the micro industry details that are going to make you sound really smart when you get on that call. I can go and I can say, hey, what are the top trends in industrial manufacturing in the Northwest? And again, when you say trends, then ChatGPT kind of wigs out a little bit. It's like, I only go up to 2021. But you can ask it things like, hey, what are the top 2 ways that industrial manufacturing companies are trying to solve, throughput? Boom. Because maybe your software is a throughput software or something. It's a logistics software. So industry knowledge, I just love it for industry knowledge. Okay. Personalization. I mean, look, you've heard Will, the Thrill, talk a little bit about this and what they're up to at Lavender. I know Colin, my guy's going up next here from Humantic. And they'll talk to you about what they do around personalization. But even if you're just using basic VP, you can see what Becca, this is Becca, if you don't know, on my team, again, summarize this transcript. So I could say, hey, ChatGPT, here's a link to a talk that Jake gave. Summarize this content in 2 bullet points in 35 words or less. You want to talk about amazing personalization, literally in the matter of like 5 seconds. What she did here is she pulled out the points from a LinkedIn post, right? And then she said, write a reply to this post, reduce it to 50 words, and write it like a comment. So the personalization that this allows me to do really, really quickly, I mean, you're talking, I can come up with something really, really personalized in like under a minute by just knowing how to query it, okay, as a part of this. Next, but certainly not least, okay, targeted messaging. This is where a lot of the folks, shout out Reply, for putting this together, obviously. But I'm telling you right now, like that, we're doing like this email coaching motion. The future is going to be, AI is just going to respond to very basic emails. And there was version 1 of this back in the day, back in like the mid 2010s, about like virtual assistants that would go back and forth. There's X.AI, I think was the name of it. Maybe it was the first. But, understanding basic replies, basic sentiment, AI is really, really good at that. I did a demonstration for the one of our clients yesterday, the day before. And I said, tell me, write a 500-word blog post about George Washington. And I said, like, make it more casual. And it's like, George Washington was a badass and does this other thing. It was pretty funny. So again, what you can use AI to do, again, for me, that's so powerful, is I can use it to get that personalized insight. And then I can use it to also get the tone right. Okay, well, how does Jake write? How does he not write? I know Humantic like pulls in some of the disc stuff. And I know the way that Lavender does it's a little bit different too. So again, I want you to think of that very, very quickly, I could put together a really well thought out message that matches, that shows that I understand their industry, and shows that I understand their persona, and shows that I understand how they prefer to talk in like a minute. And so again, let's go back to rep number 1, who doesn't know how to use and query these tools. To rep number 2, this rep is going to send out 60 high quality touch points every day, where this person's spending all this time doing research and they can get out 15. And this is the future. We're living in this do more with less sales culture today. And so I want everyone to think about, if you want to be one of the people who thrives in this new world, 2025, 75% of these orgs are using AI at scale. You need to know how to query these tools. Okay, list building. Let's go. Okay, so list building. Here's what some of these AIs can't do. They can't go search the internet for you, but there's plugins. There's other things that people are doing. There's Chrome extensions. There's LinkedIn extensions, where again, you can do these types of real-time lookups that allow you to go in and use AI to guess and use other websites. You can also, just so you all know, for some of this, and here's just some of the people that you can do this with. If I go and I say, here's a LinkedIn profile, or here's a list of LinkedIn profiles, find the email address if it's on their LinkedIn profile. So even if you don't have a Chrome extension or you don't have one of these tools, if you tell it to do that, as long as you give it the list of links, it will go and tell you. You can go and give it a list of URLs, and you can say, hey, from this URL, can you find me somebody with a title of vice president of marketing, right? And then I could take that list of people and say, go to, from LinkedIn, can you find me ABC? So there's a lot of really smart ways, whether it's through using one of these tools, which again, invest in one of these tools all day. But even if you're just using things like ChatGPT or one of the other variations, I haven't messed with Google Bard very much. So if anyone out there wants to give me advice on Google Bard, I'm sure I'll start checking it out here sooner than later. I'm definitely down to learn. But list building, it's very, very good at this. Okay, really quick. Again, if you know what to feed it. If I just tell it, give me this person's email address, again, it can't search the web. So again, I've got to get good at how to query this, or just invest in the technology. Okay, boom. Following up without losing quality. This one to me is amazing. Absolutely amazing. We've done the research, and it's something like touch points 2 through 9 are this like responsible for like 66% of like a sequence effectiveness. So just to run that back, it's like, I can't remember. Touch point 1 is like 20% or something. And then when you combine, it's like touch points 2 through 5 and 6 through 9, it's like almost like 66%. Maybe Becca on my team, if she's joining, she can drop it in the chat too. But it's crazy to me that what most reps do is they spend all their time personalizing the first email or touch point, and then they just move on. They just go on to the next thing, as a part of that. And the reality is, again, whether it's whether it's continuing to find new value add reasons, the AI in particular can help you to find so many relevant touch points that you should never, ever, ever be checking in, touching base, or following up, ever. There's no excuse, because guess what? I found this stat about Jake, and he said this buy versus build talent thing. Cool. Then I say, okay, go find, here's his URL. Tell me the last post he wrote about this topic. Boom. It can search. If I give it a feed, like a link to my activity feed, it can read that and then pull out another value point and another value point and another value point. And so when we think about like both automating and the quality of our follow-ups, right, then this is going to be a really big, important part of this, right? Again, automating follow-ups. Hey, I heard that they said this, send this auto response. I'm following up on a cold email. How can I make sure I'm adding value? So it's a mix of these automated follow-ups coupled with higher quality follow-ups, where I feel like, again, AI can just make the biggest difference. I wonder if Allen Iverson is mad that like everyone's using AI now and not talking about him. For those of you who don't know, he was a basketball player back in the day. Shout out to AI. So that's what I got, everybody. Here's like a really cool follow-up automation, just so you all know of like something that's really possible. This is with Zapier. You can set this up, which is awesome. Shout out to Brian on our team. Brian does like a crazy job of this, which is like new email, conversation, send a message back in Slack. It's crazy. You can also create draft reply in Gmail, just FYI. I could say, hey, when an email says this, how should I respond? I'm telling you right now, leaders right now are using these tools. They're like, I have a difficult employee who did this, who used the company credit card to buy something. How should I have that conversation? It'll tell you exactly how to handle the conversation. And then you can do it from the other side. It's like, my boss caught me using the credit card. What should I do? Right. So there's a lot of these different details that, again, like this Zap is a pretty basic one of just like, cool, when someone responds with this thing, what's a good type of auto response? And then can it create a draft or send the email for me? So that's what I got, everyone. That's my time. If we have questions, I'm happy to take a few questions. Make sure follow on LinkedIn. It's Jake Dunlop. It's pretty easy. Make sure to follow along. I do this Modern Leader Live series as well too, that we do Monday live every week on LinkedIn and YouTube now. So check it out. And
beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Jake. We do have a couple more minutes, and I thought a nice kind of a segue into the next topic, and it would be interesting to hear your thoughts on what we're going to be talking about next, but it kind of applies to anyone trying or implementing AI, which is the ethics element of it. So what are your thoughts on how ethical it is to make your prospects believe they're talking to a human, even though you're doing a bunch of research? It's not all like we've already discussed multiple times, but at the end of the day, you're letting AI algorithms emulate human. And how kind of ethical is that? How comfortable are you with that at this point in time?
I love it. I mean, for me, I'm on the one side of the pendulum here, right? Just to be very, very clear. I'm all about, I want to spend my time in the highest value activities that I can every day. I love to talk strategy, big picture, next steps, talk to people about their business. And I think there's absolutely nothing unethical about a bot doing some very basic interactions for me around like booking a meeting or like helping, like look, I could, like I gave at the very beginning my career builder example. It took me like 3 years to learn all this stuff about these industries. 3 years. And it's the same exact stuff that ChatGPT can generate for me in 25 seconds. So I feel like, look, if it's helping to make you smarter, accelerate it really, hopefully it's helping to accelerate your learning and how you can then spend your time in higher value add activities. So for me, I'm sure there are ways that people can use this for, more manipulative tactics, but I do feel like, man, if it can help me to learn faster, or, oh, wow, okay, it phrased it that way. Well, that's interesting. Why did it do that? Then I've got no problem with it. I've got no problem talking to bots or using, different AI to help me even get smart or, respond more effectively.
That's a great way of looking at it. Basically, it's not about lying to people. It's about helping AI present more value to the person once you let's say get on a call with them. And like you
Yeah, it's
said,
like that's a good idea. Like, imagine if like, okay, would it be unethical if like I'm typing an email and there's a friend over my shoulder? He's like, "Oh, Jake, you should say it that way. That's actually like
Mhm.
better." Is that unethical?
Yeah, it
Why?
is
Why
not.
is that
Yeah.
unethical? But yet something that's really good at aggregating a lot of best practices, giving me the same suggestion, that's unethical, and that's I just don't see it that way.
Agreed. Perfect. Thanks, Jake. As always, pleasure to have you. One of the key phrases that I wrote down, because I write down like keynotes for myself. AI is your cheat code, and this is very relatable to me as a gamer in the '90s. That is your cheat code. So again, thanks, Jake. Appreciate your time.